Are you looking forward to Davos?
Yes, we are all very much looking forward to Davos and also seeing you in person again.
The topic this year is really going to the hearts of many, which is about rebuilding trust. How is climate change, green development, and also biodiversity, the cause that you are so passionate about, going to contribute to that discussion?
Yeah, the theme of rebuilding trust really builds on the history and the mission of the forum, which is around building public-private partnerships, which is anchored on our values of moral, intellectual integrity, independence, and impartiality. Climate and nature is an existential challenge for all of us, right? It is also an area where global collaboration is needed for us to address this challenge. And hence, the need for us to build common ground, foster dialogue, build trust, and catalyze partnerships will be a key focus of this meeting.
China's economy is in a period of transition, now looking at several new priorities such as new infrastructure, new consumption, and also new energy. So how do you see the forum and the discussion this time at the annual meeting is going to interact with China on those important topics?
Yeah, we're very much looking forward to welcome Chinese Premier Li Qiang as well as the Chinese delegation to Davos next week. China is one of the largest economies, is the largest global trading nation, fastest growing, very large population, and I think we stand a much better chance of addressing global problems and challenges with China's active engagement. And we know that with the current climate and environmental crisis, we need to rethink production consumption models. Just give an example, right now, in terms of resource use, we are consuming and borrowing from the future. 1.75 times more Earth's resources, and we need to really rethink and innovate on the economies of the future to be more aligned with planetary boundaries, as the scientists would advise all of us, right? And this scope for innovation in policy, scope for innovation in technology, innovation in solutions, business models, is something that we hope and we believe that China will be able to actively contribute to, right? And be part of the solution process.
Now, you know, this time there's going to be a very large Chinese delegation, both from the government and also from the business community. How do you see, what are the key messages you are trying to spread among them? And also, what kind of response are you expecting or looking forward to having in terms of the direction of climate change and green development?
Yeah, the focus of the meeting will be around connecting science, business, and policy. Right, so a large part of the meeting will be to bring forward the latest in climate science, to help leaders, government as business leaders understand the risks that we are confronted with, right? And more importantly, to focus on solutions and partnerships. Chinese businesses, government leaders have a very strong role to play in contributing, exchanging ideas as well as perspectives on how the global community can come together, whether it is in trade relations, whether it is in value chain partnerships, engagement of suppliers, to foster our transition towards a net zero, nature positive future that provides better living opportunities for everyone.
One example about China's green development, of course, is reflected in the production and also the use of EV, electronic cars. We see Chinese enterprises not only doing that here in China, but also in different parts of the world. But others wonder whether these kinds of healthy development will be interrupted by trade embargoes and obstacles disguised as trade policies or investigations. What is your take?
Right now, climate change is affecting every one of us. 2023 was on record the hottest year, and we are seeing a lot of unprecedented weather events, whether these are droughts, wildfires, floods, and we know that this extreme weather conditions will happen in increased intensity and frequency. Yes, there is a multilateral process around climate issues, but there are also a lot of community efforts, business commitments and action to shift towards a much more sustainable future, right? So we actually see this momentum growing. It's unstoppable, right? We know that it needs to accelerate, and we believe that it will continue to grow in momentum as more companies and governments translate their ambition, commitments to practical strategy and actions across their value chains and within communities.
How do you read, once again, the necessity of development technologies, and on the other hand, the lack of a sharing of technologies and also the lack of consensus to work together for better technologies?
And I think this is where constant dialogue, building trust would make a significant difference. Technology indeed presents a lot of opportunities for us to scale up and speed up on the transitions towards a more sustainable future. And at the forum, we are committed to helping to foster dialogue and proactive discussions and solutions to discuss the risks of technology and to think about what are the right governance, global governance arrangements that are needed to help us harness technology as a force for good. I'll give you an example. We've set up an AI Governance Alliance Group. It's got 230 members from all around the world, expertise, who will talk about the opportunities in technology, what are the developments, but more importantly, how we can meaningfully as well as responsibly deploy these technologies for its application, whether it is in manufacturing or in other aspects of our industry and economic systems.
I know you work so much on this area in terms of developing green technologies. To you, what are some of the most important directions that these technologies need to be developed, improved, and shared?
There are a few developments that are of a lot of interest for us at the forum. One is around Earth data, right? How we can actually use surveillance systems to actually better monitor where are the hotspots. How can we actually allow for faster response to climatic events, right? And this actually helps to provide a second layer of defense to companies as well as to the people at the front lines, the farmers, the fishers, in preparing and adapting to climate realities. And that definitely presents a lot of opportunity. The second area that is of a lot of interest to companies, obviously, in the area of artificial intelligence. And a lot of the conversations in the annual meeting will be around the opportunities around AI, whether it is in the advanced manufacturing or in other aspects to complement the workforce of the future. But more importantly, also to think about what are the risks with AI and how we can actually make sure that it is deployed in a way that is responsible and also help us mitigate the risks of misuse.
There is such an increasing gap, unfortunately, between the developed and the developing economies, especially in the aftermath of the pandemic. That also applies to the latter's capabilities to deal with climate change, to take advantage of existing technologies, to cultivate their talents and also their workforce, to take advantage of the existing technologies. So in that regard, Gim Huay, what is the forum doing this time in order to, as much as possible, narrow that gap?
We need to look at how to provide solutions to allow for better adaptability of farmers and communities at the front line and already suffering the consequences of climate changes. I also want to talk about the opportunities as opposed to just emphasizing the risks, which is that there are a lot of biodiversity resources that actually reside in these emerging developing economies. And we think about new growth models of the future, we can actually look at how we can protect, restore natural capital, and provide an economic means of support to these communities who are also the stewards of the land and the ocean. that is so critical for us if we want to secure a future that is with clean air, fresh waters, and intact ecosystems. I'll give you an example. At the forum, we have an initiative called the Trillion Trees Initiative. And this initiative has grown over the last 4 years. It's got an active chapter in China, in India, as well as in Africa, Sahel region, and in Latin America. And this initiative continues to grow with corporate pledges of more than 10 billion trees, right, to conserve and restore landscapes. And at the same time, we are also building ecosystems to support communities and also to find means by which it can be economically viable and sustainable and scalable, right? Whether this is through carbon markets or through economies that are regenerative, agriculture, and other ways where we can be more, live in more harmonious relation with nature. So there are initiatives that are ongoing to see how we can better support and work with many of these communities to support and each other in this journey towards a climate-friendly future.
The year 2024, Gim Huay, though it's a very challenging year, it's more than a few dozens of countries are having their elections, including some of the major economies in the world. And therefore, many say there could be flip-flop policies coming out of these countries. And some people would even say that no matter how much we try right now, it's going to change anyway. So what's the point of working so hard in order to rebuild trust? The trust is going to be destroyed anyway, eventually, after all of this. Your take?
The climate and nature crisis is a humanitarian crisis. So regardless of your political beliefs or affiliations, right, it is an issue that will affect, that already affects every one of us, right? Local pathways, policies may differ, right? Because this has to be adapted to the local context. But I believe that this momentum has started, it is growing, is unstoppable, and if anything, we'll likely see an acceleration of momentum, whether this is in terms of government policies or business action to address this crisis. If we don't address this crisis, right, I think there will be even more costs that we'll need to bear as societies, as economies going forward. The risks are very, very evident. We've just released our global risks report this year, and again, environmental risks are ranked at the top. And the longer we procrastinate and delay our actions, the higher the cost it will be. And if we can act today, I think the opportunities will be for those who move early and who move fast to have that competitive and comparative advantage in the new economy of the future.
But are you ready for possible disappointment, flip-flop of policies, more uncertainties as a result of all of the political events and geopolitical events that are going on this year?
I think we need to continue to bring the facts, the science, the voice of the people to the table, right? And having that common understanding, right, will also give us a much better chance of finding common ground in which partnerships can be built, whether these are public-private partnerships, private-private partnerships, or partnerships with communities to jointly address a crisis that will affect all of us.
Before we go, the World Economic Forum has been such a bridge trying to link different kinds of people, interests, agendas together. How do you, after joining the forum and working on this very important area of green and climate change and biodiversity, understand the challenges of being a bridge, the challenges of building a bridge, but yet the charm of being part of the bridge?
Indeed, the forum's mission has been to build bridges across geographies between different stakeholders. And it's important for us that we can continue to create a platform that allows for open conversations, that allows for us to bring different perspectives to the table, right? To also be able to forge partnerships that are founded on a common vision, right? And anchored on values of collaboration and trust to address the most important and the most critical challenges that we confront with together, right? Climate and nature is evident. If we don't work together, we're not going to make it, right? Because everybody has a role to play. Everybody can contribute to building that future that is a lot more in harmony with nature, and that also supports lives, livelihoods, and a better future for our children and future generations. I think no one will quarrel with that vision, right? Every one of us hopes to have clean air, clean water, and healthy nature around us, right? And we know that because we are all interconnected, right? What happens in China doesn't stay in China, and what happens in Southeast Asia also doesn't stay in Southeast Asia. The Earth actually calls for all of us to come together to protect, because there is no planet B, as many of us may say.